Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Lab of Life podcast. We are so excited. Today we have Lara joining us again. Lara was one of our first guests, and we are so grateful she is here with us again to let us know about the new thing she has going on in her life. So Lara is a theta healer. She has a podcast going on. She's an animal therapist. Oh my gosh, did I say that right? Is it animal therapy?
I'd say animal healing, yeah.
Animal healing.
Yeah.
And so much more. We are so happy to have her here with us today. Welcome, Lara.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here because, I can't believe that it's been a year and a half and you guys have done so much. And yeah, I'm excited to catch up.
I know. I cannot believe it's been almost like a year and a half since we started the podcast.
Yeah.
And you were the first one. You started us off as a guest, and it
Yay.
was beautiful. I still listen that podcast and get a lot of stuff from it. So you guys, whoever did not listen to that podcast, please go back and listen to it because there is a lot of interesting information. So Lara, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah. Speaking of that first one, I still use the clip of me explaining theta healing on my Instagram because it's such a quick little synopsis of it. And then that way I'm just like, if people ask, I'm like, you can go get like a 1 minute explanation on my Instagram. Thank you.
It's been a year and a half. What have changed for you? I know you have your own podcast now, which is really cool. We will have a link in the bio for everybody to go and check that out. But tell us what inspired you. What's going on?
Yeah, well, what inspired me was literally just my friend. You get as creatives, we have tons of ideas of things that we want to do. Or like, I want to do this and this. So
Hmm.
of course, I wanted to do a podcast for years. I had even written down ideas of doing it with other people, and for years, I had like that kind of just rolling around in my brain. And then my friend one day was like, "You should do a podcast," and I was like, "Yeah, I would love to, but the time and all the equipment." And he was like, "Well, I have it. I can help you, and you can do it with my stuff, and I'll edit it for you." And it was like literally the universe going, "Just do it."
Here you go. Just take
You.
it.
I was like, "Okay." And so we actually started doing it in the summer, 6 months before we ever even released anything, because we were just like, what are we doing? And so we would do like one every few months and just like slowly getting a sense of what the plan was. And then towards the end of the year, we were like, okay, this is how it's going to go. Let's get on a system. Let's get it going. And then, yeah, I'm just so fortunate. He's so supportive and helpful that he does all that for me. And then I did have to think, like, what is it going to be about? And I was just telling my dad this a couple weeks ago. My dad used to host a radio show in like the 50s in LA, and he interviewed a lot of movie stars and heads of companies and things like that. And so my mom was like, "Yeah, you should ask your dad like what his idea would be." And so I did, and I said, "Just think about it." And he goes, "Well, I like when you tell me the stories of really like synchronistic things happening for you and your clients. Like it's so fascinating." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, that's lovely. I love those stories too." And that was it. Like I didn't even need to go any further. I just was like, yeah, that's what I want it to be about. I want it to be about, because healing is so hard, and we like know it's so challenging that sometimes it's nice to hear the positive side where people are like giving you the like highlights of their healing, or telling you about really beautiful divine intervention moments where they're like, I can't believe this happened to me. Like I just was healing that a week ago, and I love that. And I feel like it's so encouraging for us. So I just thought, yeah, let's do it about that. And then have different people on to tell about their experiences and what they offer to the world. And my dad didn't even know that that was what it was about. And when I saw him 2 weeks ago, he's like, "So what is your podcast about? I need to listen to it." And I was like, "Yeah, it's about what you said like a year ago." And he was like, "I didn't even know that you took that idea." So yeah, so
That's
that's what it's.
awesome. um, I also came to understand that when people just start waking up, which I always thought was funny, like when they just start getting into the healing and they start healing the parts, it's very encouraging because it kind of like it gives you that profound moments. You're like you heal some little thing, and then it's like, oh my god, this insight, and that's come out, and the people come into your life, and synchronicities are happening. But the further you go, the harder it becomes. It's like, the universe lures you in, say, no, this is great, go ahead do it. And then it's like one thing after another. And like one those clips on Instagram when people just like crying and screaming, and that's what the healing is. It's not really all nice and meditating and sitting in the Buddha pose and being all blissful.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And that's the thing, is I think like we all know that as healers. And I feel like the podcast is for anyone, but I say in the podcast, like, greetings healer, because I feel like I'm speaking mostly to people who are healers, or maybe they don't do it as their job, but like they are a healer in some way. And it's so true. Like, we know how hard, I don't want to cuss, how hard it is. And like that most of the time you are like going through the deep, heavy stuff. But then those moments, when you have those moments, it is so encouraging and it is so validating that you're like on the right path, you're doing the right thing, keep going. But you are absolutely right. I know I've heard that too, and that made sense to me the first time I heard it, that in the beginning those moments happen a lot where you're like, wow, this is so profound, this is such a divine moment. And then as you're in your healing, you're like, I would love some kind of really acknowledgeable shift to know something is different right now.
I
That would
know.
be like such a little breadcrumb or like hug from the universe, please.
I know, because as you go farther, it's like the universe wants you to just trust yourself more, and it's like, just trust that it's happening. You've got this.
Yeah.
But I love your podcast, and I love hearing your stories. It is so inspiring. I love like hearing about your experiences and the synchronicities that you saw, especially when you were mentioning about working with your teacher, and then that everything that happened at work that aligned with it, like how it all came together. And I was like, oh my God, it just brings so much joy and inspiration to just hear somebody else's story like that. And then you can think of when things happen to you, and it's like a reminder of the magic in the world. And
Mhm.
yeah, also how you said it was for healers, like it makes you think of just like the bigger aspect of healers, like different ways that we can be a healer. Like you had a guest that's an actress, and she spoke about how she brings healing to her work and everything that she does, and I think that was so beautiful.
Yeah, and like even if we have someone that is listening that, even as a mother, you're a healer, right? If you are a caretaker, you're a healer. If you work, I always for some reason use this analogy of like the dry cleaners. Like if you own a dry cleaners, you could still be a healer because you are helping people show up to the world in a way that they want to. And maybe how you are with your customers every day, you're giving them a smile, you're encouraging them, you're brightening their day, you're asking them how they are, even in that you can be a healer. So I feel like even if your job isn't healer or in a healing sense, a wellness sense, you can still identify as a healer, and what you can offer to your community in the way of, bringing love to everybody. But yeah, I absolutely, like I had Grace on, yeah, because I thought her dynamic is so interesting, that she's an actress, uh and then I'm going to have someone on in May that is she does a lot of yoga for seniors, and she calls herself the senior whisperer. So she helps a lot of
That
seniors like love their body and like heal their body. But yeah, it's so interesting. So I'm going to actually interview her in 2 weeks. But when I asked her like, what is it that you want to focus on, and she was saying that, I was like, oh, that is so unique. And I I knew a little bit about what she did, but not that. But she said, I feel like I'm like a senior whisperer. I was like, that is so cute.
I love it. Oh my God, this is such a unique like niche,
Yeah.
and very needed. I mean, I've always often feel that seniors are so overlooked, and it's almost like they're no longer included in the dynamic of life most of the time. But they're still like very much alive, and the more like the further we go, the more vital people are, the better the longer we live. We are going to live longer. I'm totally a
Yeah.
believer of that. And I do feel like That's very, very needed. I would love to. I would love to listen to that
Yeah,
podcast. I
yeah,
will.
yes. It'll be probably the end of May that we publish it. But yeah, I mean, I have a family friend who's in her 80s and she lives in a senior community, and I was driving with her in the car and she was talking about like a dance she went to and how the women were acting really catty about this man because he was like the only available one to dance. And I thought, oh my gosh, you're dealing with the same stuff. Like
Exactly.
at some point.
And I have a client who she's 90 years old. She's actually 91. And we were just discussing, like, she just has the dreams that she still wants to travel, that she lost her husband a couple of years ago, and she's like, well, maybe I will be dead. And I'm like, maybe you should. Like, don't really give up on yourself, because you're still like vital and vibrant, and there's so much inside of you that you should still give to the world. Actually, I have the theory, if you're living, it means you have to be still, that there's something you still have to give to the world. So pull it out, give it, show it, live your life.
Yeah.
So your podcast about like how healers are developing, and also like about their journey. How did your journey change from the moment when you started? Like when did you start your, like, what was it? How old were you?
Well, that story I tell in the first podcast happened when I was, I'm going to say 23, maybe
Okay.
2. Yes. I mean, like I had things happen when I was a kid. Like I have the story that I tell often that I would put rocks. My friend, we were dancers, and my friend hurt her knee and she's going to have surgery. I think we were like 12, and I put
Yeah.
rocks on her knee and was like healing it the night before her surgery.
Like
And
intuitively, you did it totally intuitively. Yeah.
and I hadn't talked to her for years. And I talked to her about 6 years ago, and she was like, "What are you doing?" You know, because I have this whole other master's degree of like a career I could be doing. And she's like, "Yeah, so how's that going?" Kind of a thing. And I was like, "Oh, I don't do that anymore. I'm doing this." And I explained like I'm a healer. I do this, and she like literally didn't even budge. She was like, "Makes sense," because she remembered those moments of me like being like, sit down, I'm going to do something on you. And I didn't know what I was doing, but yeah, I was doing some type of magic on her, just trying to support her, help her. And same, I can think of things when I was like very small, like 5, and trying to like affect the energy in the room. And also remember like my dad, he's like very magical himself, and he would um tell us like if you sit in the car in this certain spot, then you can control the car. And like of course it's him doing it, but it made me think for years that I was controlling windshield wipers and lights, and he's doing it with his finger, you know. But he would tell me like you have to find a certain stick and bring it into the car. So I would search for the right stick, and it had the magic. And I believe that forever.
Wow.
And I just feel like those things and the way that my family is, like it was just so normal to like believe that you have magic and believe that you could change and affect change and energetically with your, you know, words or whatever it was. So I just think like it kind of happened so much I didn't really realize that that wasn't the case for everybody. But then like yeah, when I was like in my 20s and like really being like, okay, what is this? Like this is something. And the book that I referred to in the podcast, I don't even think I say the name, but because it's not in print anymore, was called The Light Worker's Way. And it was this huge fat book, and it talked about everything. And that really like woke up in me like, oh, this is something. And so from that point on, then I was like paying attention to it and looking around like, what can I do to like cultivate this? And what does this mean about my life? Because here I am in school trying to get this whole other job and degree, but like, what's this about? So yeah, so that was 23 years ago.
So how do you feel you evolved? Like what changed? Or even like you can talk when you started doing data healing and up to this point, like what how do you feel you're evolved as a healer?
Yeah, I mean, so much more like just stronger in like the sense of who I am. I feel like you guys understand that too. Like the more that you heal, the more you're just comfortable in your body, the more you're comfortable in whatever weirdness there is about you. Like just embracing all of that, and then knowing that that helps you help others. So however I can help others, whatever else I can do, um, to help other people help themselves, or just to give them a hand until they're feeling they can do something for themselves, show them a way that they can heal themselves. Like I've, in the way that, yeah, I learned theta healing was like the first modality that I learned. um I should do some math, but I'm going to say 7 years ago, maybe it was more. But yeah, that was not even about me. That was just me going and saying, I just want to heal for the weekend. And then in it going, okay, yeah, wow, this is incredible. I want to do it for other people. How do I do this for other people? And I remember when I came home from that weekend and I was talking to my ex at the time, my boyfriend, about it. And he goes, oh no, my parents called me and I was talking to them on the phone. And they were like, what did you do this weekend? And I was telling them. And then he yelled in the phone, your daughter's a healer, because like you get the certification, you're a healer now, you're a theta healing practitioner. And when he said that, I was like, oh, I am. Like it gave me like the permission, like, yeah, like now all the things that are inside of you, you can like put them somewhere. And I kind of laughed like, oh, haha, yeah. But in my brain, I was like, wait, what? And so that really, for me, was like a moment that I was like, okay, I'm going to take everything and put it into this. And now I know what to do with it. And then, yeah, over time, it was just like learning more things. And the more I healed, the more crazy things would happen, where like I had other collectives of beings coming to me and saying, hey, we want to help with your healing. So like, and with certain people, we may show up, allow us to help. And like learning, what does that look like and what does that feel like? So even though now I do theta healing and I do energy healing, there are a lot of times that I'm doing something that I don't really know what it's called. I don't really want to be
Actually, I've been speaking to a lot of healers that feel this way, that there's this whole like other type of healing that's coming through, and it's just kind of unique, like unique to them. It's something new that they haven't learned anywhere, that they haven't experienced anywhere else. And I think like we're all collectively getting to this new level of awareness that it's safe for this new information to come through, and we're strong enough to trust it. And I think it's beautiful that all this new kind of healing is coming through, that's kind of unique and has the signature of each person and our guides and
yeah,
our team.
exactly, absolutely. And I always tell people when they take the theta healing classes with me, I always say, because they'll say like, what if I want to incorporate this into this other thing that I do, massage or whatever? And I always tell them it's so great because you can do that. It's so flexible, but it also is specific about like your medicine and what you are bringing, to the world, and you can mix it with that. But I think, yeah, you're right. It can be for anything. Like you could design your own way of healing. You could learn Reiki and then mix it with your own medicine that you want to do. Light language, or like music with Reiki, whatever it is. So yeah, I just feel like everybody does have their own signature energy medicine to bring. But then I think you're right that right now there is something happening that even people who are doing healing or not doing healing are feeling like this whole other space coming in, that we're kind of just like holding and learning from, and then allowing to do whatever it needs to do.
I know. I remember when, so I did data healing first, and then I went into the Akashic Records reading. And I remember I was asking you, like, can I combine two? Because I know the Akashic Records person who created this specific method, she was very particular about, no, you cannot mix it with any other modalities. But data healing seems like, sure, do whatever, create your own thing. Yes, we have certain rules. If you want to call yourself a theta healer, you do this. But if you just want to create something else on the basis of theta healing, that go and do that. And I think that's what I like about this particular method. There are no real restrictions. Like, you really are open to just start exploring, and it's a perfect, like, a stepping stool to and I sent everybody who starting, like, all some of my clients, when they start, I could see that, like, they trying to be, that they are awakening in the awakening process. I'm like, you go to Lara, you start with Theta Healing. This is perfect place. Like, I'm sending everybody there. You still do the classes, right? You still do
Yeah, I
the
just did one 2 weeks ago
Mhm.
for two people that work at Kavala. And it was so sweet because they kind of knew each other already. They both work at Kavala. We all know each other from that. And it was such a interesting class because they're both already like very progressed in their healing, have their own businesses, and then wanted to learn more about this. And so yeah,
Mhm.
it was interesting to see like the different levels, as you would get in any workshop or class that you have, but each one is so unique that it can be people that are like just awakening, like you say, and coming
Exactly.
in. And I have had a few people that you've recommended that I'm still to this day like connected to in some way, and they're all just so sweet and
I know. I had. I'm sure you remember the girl from Florida. I recently, like, one of my clients from Florida, I talked to her. So she's like a, I think she's like a not naturopathic doctor, but like a chiropractor in a sense. I forgot exactly what she was doing. So she came from like a physical perspective, and then she added like the Theta Healing, and now she created her own method, like a holistic. She's like, I really use a lot of Theta Healing with my clients, and thank you so much for like pointing me into that direction, because her methods are completely different right now from where she started, like, what, a year and a half, 2 years ago. And I'm like, wow, this is great.
that's
I
so
love
cool.
it.
Yeah, I know, and
Yeah.
that's the thing about any healing is how it just spreads, right? Like you do a class for somebody and then they tell someone else something they learned in your class, and then that person's helping their family with like this new idea that they learned from their friend. And it just, that's what I really hold on to for me and for anybody that I'm like working with is we know like when we heal, we are affecting change in our community, in our family, in our friends, and it's just rippling out. And that's like, when the world is in the places that it's in, it can feel so overwhelming that we can't make a change. We can't help others the way we want to help others. And so I feel like if I can like do healing on myself, if I can heal people around me, I hope that that can do something, and it gives me a little bit more control over this feeling of like not feeling in control and not feeling like I can do anything to help people across the world, or like what I'm doing isn't enough. And so it gives me some sense of like I can do this, I
Mhm.
can help myself, and I know that that can affect change all over, right? Like here, that person's in Florida, we're in
Mhm.
I'm in California. You guys are everywhere.
Yeah, but
Uh,
I have clients all over the world. I have clients from everywhere. And I think this is the beauty of like doing this right now. Because at first when I started doing it, I was doing it in person, and people were like really like in person. Then I shifted slowly, and then COVID happened, and we shifted completely everything online. So now I'm like, it's the same. It's really the same. If you're in Germany and I'm in LA, absolutely the same healing. I can connect to you. I can do whatever I need to be doing, even if you were just sitting in front of me right here in person. In fact, I noticed that when I do the healing remotely, I am more present and focused, because when the person is right next to me, the energy could be overwhelming. So it's harder, to push back and really like do the job that you're here to do. So like I feel like I have a little bit more sense of control at this
I
point
actually
in
feel
time.
that too. I feel
Yeah.
that when I'm doing a distance session, it's like I can tap into a different level. It's not as influenced by the energy that's currently around them. It's like you can connect with their soul, like a soul level.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, it's like the less distraction from that impact, like the energy that they trying to impose on you with their presence, which I thought was really interesting.
and I love the idea too of that we can be across the world. Like I have clients in Saudi Arabia, and it's like here we are, our healing is connecting us in my mind. And now every like energy between us may be also experiencing some type of you know, like it's like I'm sending a beam of healing to them and connection. And then anyone that's like moving within that, like walking
Yes.
through or lives in the underneath, I imagine it to be like electricity lines like over us, like anyone
Yes.
else like experiencing some type of like bystander effect of love.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
it's creating like a
100%.
ripple effect, right? Because you have your ripple here of healing, and then they're there and they're starting their own ripple of healing. So all this healing is just gonna, it's
Yeah.
covering the whole world.
Yeah. And I
Absolutely.
people do that, say that, like, but are you sure it's the same? And I'm like, yeah, and it has its own positives.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel in many ways it's actually better. But I was just wanted to add that the energy, the pockets of energy, like everything we send, it is all around. And you can really feel the negative energy. Like I noticed when I started working with energies, like when you drive places, you can actually feel the pockets of energy changing, like when you drive. So you literally from point A to point B, you shift so many energy. Like people, they're mad, they lift this bucket of energy. People were upset, left the bucket, and then you get so tired just driving from one place to another because you hit all those points. And if you don't really set the protection and kind of like secure yourself in the bubble, it affects you. But
Yeah.
it goes the same for the positive energy. If you go through the positive energy bubbles, it's like, oh yeah, I feel so much better. And you're right, when you send this beam to Saudi Arabia, everybody who's in the way, they
Yeah.
like secondhand healing.
Yeah, secondhand
Go
healing.
through.
That's what it is. Yeah, I was trying to think of that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because then sometimes I'll teach a class, and there'll be someone in Australia, someone in Estonia, someone in North Carolina, and it's like we're creating this cool grid of healing
Mhm.
that's just like blanketing all of our places. And I understand there's this benefit to in person. You know, I just did the in person class, and it was lovely, and we ate together, and they went for a walk, and all of that. But yeah, it definitely is the majority of my business and my clients and connection is that people don't live anywhere near me. And I do think it's so cool. I think it's like incredible that we can do that, you know, that we
Yeah.
can connect in that way. It's so beautiful. Especially I just had someone ask me that yesterday because I had an animal healing session and they were in San Francisco and they said, "How does this work? Like, how do you connect with my animal?" And I kind of had to give them a little brief explanation of like, we're all one energy and we are, I'm just connecting to like your animal's highest self. Like you said, the soul of, you know, the purest part of them, and then bringing the healing.
Tell us more about that. So tell us what is the animal, because I'm sure a lot of people will be interested in. And I know like somebody just were telling me that she took her cat to this cat psychologist, and I'm like, well, how does that work? Because I could kind of see the energy healing and that part, but like cat psychologist, that's
Does the cat like tell it?
yeah,
Like,
like what's going on?
they do, but in
So
that way, I think of it more like humans, like
yeah,
talk.
so what exactly do you do with animals?
Yeah, so mine is a mixture of a lot of things. Some of it is stuff that I just did as a kid, and then um, things I've learned from animals. Really, like animals will show me. I had a horse one time. I was connecting with them and doing healing for them. And where I was, there was a lot of other animals, and I kept opening my eyes and like just checking my surroundings, like I'm okay, like you know, nothing's like gonna like come get me or something. I don't know. And that horse was really like kind of like a energy of like a monk, and it was like this like, hey, pull it together, stop getting distracted. And I was like, oh, okay. And so even the animals will show me
Wow.
things and go, you know, you could do this, and I'm like, what? I can, you know. So I learned from them as well. But basically I connect with the animals higher self, and I will ask my client their somebody recently said parent instead of parent, like their animal's parent. I was like, that's great. They're,
That's so cute.
I was
Yeah.
like, okay, love that. What they feel like their animal is needing, like are they needing um you know, some energy healing? Are they needing like some communication about some issue that's going on? Are they having a health issue? And we'll kind of chat about it for a little bit, and then I'll connect with the animal and do just energy healing, whatever needs to be done. Is it shock, just like a person? Is it chakra healing? Is it that their heart needs to be healed? Are they going through something? Did they go through something before they came to this family? And the thing ultimately that we know about animals is they want to help us, they want to heal us. So they tend to take on our stuff. And in that, they don't know how to move it. They're being their little healer selves, but they don't know how to heal themselves. So then I can come in and help that energy that they're trying to help with and absorb, help to release that so that they don't have to carry that. Because you hear a lot like somebody has um diabetes and their dog has diabetes, and it's because they're
Yeah.
trying to help with that energy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can help with that and help them to let go of what they've taken on. And then there can be communications that come up. So maybe the parent wants to say something to the animal, they think they're not really getting through to them, which they always are. And the animal maybe wants to say something to them, and it's typically like very validating for the the mom or the dad, because they kind of know these things already. But then it is nice for an outsider to come and say, hey, they really want that one special blanket when they go stay with grandma and grandpa. And then they go, oh my gosh, grandma made them that blanket. That's why they want to bring it over there. And, it just really, for someone completely neutral to come in and kind of support that, it really helps their relationship. And then in my sessions, a lot of times what comes up is the things the animal is trying to help you with. So then if you are healing, you can take those things and you can um, focus on those and help yourself, and it will help your animal because they want you to
Mm-hmm.
work on those things. And
Yeah.
most of the time your animals are there to help you with like specific things.
I know it's very similar with kids too, especially if it's the little kids. Like they're also little healers. They come and they help. The same with animals. And I do when I have clients who have animals. You're so right about that. When you say something that's there's no way for you to know, and it validates for them. They're like, oh my god, yes, this is exactly what I was feeling or was thinking, and it really even helps me to kind of have a little bit faith in me to like, yes, I know what I'm doing. Because there's
The
always that
validation.
doubt, the validation. Yes. Do you feel that? Like, do you still feel that doubt sometimes that you're like, oh my god, I don't know what I'm doing?
Yeah, I have to just tell myself, as I'm sure you both do, like you just have to say the things because they do end up becoming validated, and you're like, yeah. Or if I don't say it, I'm like, oh, that sounds so insane, I'm not gonna say it. And then they're like, oh well, sometimes we do this, and I'm like, I should
I
have
should
said
have
that.
said that. Yeah.
Oh, I wish I would have said it. But
Yep.
now, yeah,
I
it's like
have those. Mm-hmm.
just say it. You just say it. And so I have less of those moments, and I have more belief in them, even if they're not sure if it connects, because so many times people later will come to me and go,
And
we figured out on the way home, this is what you were talking about.
this
Yeah.
is
And
Yeah,
so,
it does
exactly.
click in later.
yeah, yeah. So I just feel like that's happened so much that it's less, but I do still, when I say it, I'm like, oh, I hope this doesn't sound so insane, especially with animals, because people are more willing to try things with their animals than themselves.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, like, they've never done healing, and I'm like talking about their animal's past life, and I'm like, do you even believe in that? I don't know. And so there is this essence of like, I just have to say it because it's here and it's happening, but I don't know how you're going to take it. But again, just knowing like I'm only speaking the truth of, positive things. I'm doing
Yeah.
what's in my heart. Like I'm not doing anything, negative. So I just trust that it's being said like in the right way, and the energy of it is doing something.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's sometimes the other day I had someone who I've worked with their animals a ton over years and years, and they showed me like I can't remember what they showed me. It was something like a puzzle or something, and I never had seen that before, so I didn't really have context for it, and so I didn't say anything about it, and I worded it like differently. I forget how I worded it, and then they said, "Oh, it's because I always do puzzles, and they like to sit with me when I do puzzles." And I was like, "It was a puzzle. I wish I would have just said puzzle,
The
but it's
puzzle. It would be, yeah, it would be it. Yes. I was
not."
just coaching one of my clients who's trying to starting to read Akashic records, and that's exactly what I told her. I'm like, if you're ever in doubt, just say what comes, like just say it out and don't worry about it, because it's like, I even noticed, like when you do that, it's the energy, the thing, it's kind of like pressuring you to just like give it up, and sometimes it's not even going to let you go any further until you just like give that up and keep the flow going. And I know, like one of the mediums that I went to, medium Fleur, she said the same thing when she reads, or Michael Mayo, he said the same thing too. When they read, like they just have to say it out, because the like the spirit gets stuck on the same exact thing and goes around the same thing, because it has some sort of significance to the people, even if it's like a random, I don't know, green
Like
triangle.
you. It stops the flow if you don't say it. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
So true. Yeah. They just like sometimes they'll tell me a ton of things and I can wait to say them. And other times it's like, you have to say this now. I'm not going to get anywhere else until you say it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, let me say this because it's just right here. And I'm trying to get past it and I can't. So yeah, it's, they are so fun. They're such fun sessions. And selfishly, I always say if I can like see what the pet looks like, that'd be great because sometimes I'm connecting with the animal's energy and the owner is at work and we're talking about the session and I never even get to see what they look like. And I'm like, can you send me a picture just because I want to see how cute they are? Like,
That is
yeah,
Now I want to have now I want to have a session for my Lupa. Like, oh, when you talk about animal healing, I just want to cry because they're I love like our little animals. I love my Lupa. I think they're such beautiful healers. And like actually when you were talking about how animals heal for us, like I immediately had like even this past week I've been decluttering my house and just clearing out energy and cleaning, and I've been clearing out my energy, and she was throwing up. She was like throwing up like every day she would throw up a little bit. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you don't have to clear for me. I'm sorry."
I
Well,
know.
she was clearing up also stuff, like
Yeah.
because you probably were not throwing up, she was throwing up for you.
I know. It's
I don't
incredible. And that's what everyone always says, like, but I don't want them to. I know, believe me, I have animals too. I don't want them to. I always am like, you don't need to take this. I'm working on it. But that's what they're here for. So we can ask them not to do it, but it's their own free will. They're going to do what they
And
want to do.
sometimes I feel that that's their purpose.
It's
So it's like in every culture they have that, like a spirit guide that comes with you in the form of an animal. Familiar, yes, it's like a familiar.
yeah.
And sometimes they're here just for that, and sometimes they're here to walk you through the disease and relieve the disease, or like emotional, there is a whole reason there this new wave of emotional support animals, because they really are working, and that's their purpose. They came
Yeah.
specifically for that. And I know with cats especially, like, I mean, I had cats all my life, and I recently lived like was a cat for a while, and he would come and like my stomach would be hurting, like I have period cramps, and this is exactly where he would come and just lay there until I have a relief. Or if I'm
Yeah.
just emotionally struggling, he would also come and just like certain places just kind of keep me
Yeah.
supported, which I
They
love.
say like if your hormones like are needing
Mhm.
balancing, that's when they like need on you.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah. And you're right. Like they can have so many purposes, but you can ask your animal, like, what is some things that you're trying to help me with? And it could be emotional, it could be things you're working through, like very specific to right now you're decluttering. But
It's so cool.
okay, yeah. So animals like crystals have their own properties, same way animals like or crystals have like this one clears and this one's going to help you ground and things like that. So they have
Ooh.
all sorts of purposes that they do for you. But they also have like kind of these bigger themes. And so I have my two animals, and one loves helping to hold space. And so when I'm teaching or doing a lot of sessions in a row, she comes and she sits next to me. Or if I'm on teaching class, she sits behind the computer and she always like faces away. So she's always like holding the space. And then, and she loves angels. So anytime I taught a class like, I'm going to say 2021, and there were three people, and it was one of them was somebody you had brought to me, Lena, and so each person when they connected to angels, that her name's Kala. Kala came in the room, cried the whole time. Then we would disconnect. She would go back away. Then we would connect to angels again. She'd come in the room, cry, leave. And then the third person connected to the angels and she came in. And then when we were done, the third person was like, oh, so glad. I thought she's confirmed for everyone that they're connecting to angels. I hope I also get like a confirmation, and she came in the room every time people were calling angels into the space and was being like, they're here, so she loves that. And then my other one, she loves to manifest and she loves to clear energy. So she will ring a bell that's near my space, like just at random times. And I know it's that there's energies around that she's like, let's help get the frequency of these out. And then manifesting, she loves manifesting. So anytime I'm manifesting, I'm like, all right, come help me. And I think that's so important if you can check in with your animal and find out what are you here to help with, because then you can like tell them like, okay, I'm doing that thing, like come do your part. And then they know you're getting it, and then they know that that's what you understand what they're offering, and then you can work together, and it's a little bit more powerful that way. And so I was thinking of when I taught a class recently that Kala held space for the 2.5 days of the class, but there were 2 or 3 hours where we were just doing manifestation, and Kala left the room, and Chacha, who loves manifesting, came in just for those 2.5 hours, and then they switched places again. And so literally it's like I can tell people these things, but then like they see it themselves in the class, like, wait, isn't that the one that you just said loves manifesting? And she just came out for that part. Like it's validating for the class as well that we're doing it. We're in this same energy, and they recognize that. And it helps them understand animals more, that they have purposes here, and they want to like be in their purpose. So the more we can help that and make the space for that, the stronger your relationship can be with them.
Yeah. And I know there's so many practices now that involve animals, like goat yoga, horse yoga. You do the sound healing with cats, right? Do you do that for people with cats or for cats?
No, it's for people. I know that's always in the beginning. It was hard to explain. I would be like, how do we, because I would love to just do it for cats too, but yeah, it's at a cat lounge, like a cat cafe vibe type thing in Long Beach. And so they have like 30 cats, and you would go there just anytime to just hang out with the cats. And they're adoptable, so a lot of people will adopt their animals from there. And so then we do sound healing there, and then people come. And then that was the other thing, like, do we bring our cat? Like, no, you don't bring your cat. So it was in the beginning a little bit like we really had to explain it a lot, and show like that cats love it. They love it so much. And then people were like, oh, wow. And it was like such a hit. So yeah, people come, lie down, and then we do a sound healing for the cats that are there and the people who are our guests. And the cats love it so much. They come, they try to touch the crystal bowls when they're vibrating. And the bowl, I have to tell people in the beginning, like it's such a unique explanation of sound healing. If you've never been to a sound healing, I always have to say this one's going to show up differently because we have the cats. So the cats are their own little frequencies, and they're going to come and put their hand on the instrument while we're playing it. And so instead of it ringing out, it's going to die off and the sound is going to sound bad. But I'm in their space, so I'm never going to like shoo them away unless they could get hurt or break something. And sometimes they're sleeping in my bowls, and
that's a different sound.
in my mind, I'm like, that bowl's not going to get played because you need to sleep. And it's funny because every time they are sleeping in the bowls, they could literally be sleeping in like 2 or 4 bowls. When it comes to that part, they know, and they get up and they walk away and they play all the bowls. There's only been one time I've been going there since 2019, I think. One time that a cat came while I was playing it and got in the bowl, but I kept playing it because I was just like curious what it would sound like. And my partner at the time was like, "What are you doing? Like, it's not going to make any sound." But I was like, "But they like it. They like how
Yeah, there's like a vibration anyway.
if it's the gong, they'll come up and put their hand on the gong. Well, they love it so much. And then they add their own sounds. We'll hide all the noisy toys, but they will find the one that we didn't hide, and they're gonna add their own sounds. So I always have to
Oh,
give like a real speech about how this is gonna look very different than any other sound healing you're gonna go to, because they're part
Have
of
you
it.
tapped into their frequency, like into the cat's energy while you're doing that to see like what they're feeling, if they have like messages?
Yeah, sometimes they are just vibing with it and they want to find like a person in the room that's kind of similar, and they'll go like sit on them or sit on their blanket or something. And then other times they're moving through some stuff and they'll get very like they need to move energy. And so they actually get like those like zoomies where they want to run around. And you think like, well, this isn't conducive to sound healing. We want it to be all peaceful and meditative. But that's why I tell people in the beginning, like, we're in their space. So however they're going to respond to this, we have to respect. And if they're going to run around and make noise, that's what they need to do right now.
it's
So
necessary. Yep.
we need to let them do it. And they're probably also helping you do something. So
Mhm.
yeah, so it'll be different things at different times that I can sense with them. And sometimes some will come up during certain instruments and I know they're like, I need this. And so I'll offer them like some energy healing, like as I'm playing the instrument, so that they're getting the energy healing and the instrument healing because their body needs something. So yes, absolutely. And then my favorite thing is at the end of every sound healing, when I'm helping everyone come back to their space, I always, my thing, I have a goal is like, I want to be holding a cat while I do that, because at what other meditation are you going to be holding a kitten or a cat when you're leading people? And that's it's like a thing that my partner and I, when we would go there, they'd say, "You're not going to have a cat every time." I was like, "I'm going to have a cat every time." And there'll be no cats around. And then I'll be, okay, coming back to your space, take a nice deep breath in. And I'll look down and there's the like volunteer that's like, "Go ahead, hold me." And then I pick them up and I'm like, "Yep." And every time my partner would be like shaking their head, like, "How do you every time find a cat for the end of this?" And I was like, "Cause like, this is what I want. I want in that moment, I'm so grateful for my job because I'm doing sound healing, I'm doing healing, I'm with animals, and I get to hold a cat while I do it." So yeah, I do connect with them the entire time, as well as the people and the guests. But yeah, I am constantly like checking in with them. Yeah.
Nice. So when is the next event for the local people who are here? I
So
want to go. I want to go, and I'm going to bring my daughter.
oh yeah, it's May. Hold on, I think it's May 19th. Let me double check.
Oh,
Used to do it. It's a Sunday. Yeah, May 19th. 5 p.m. May 19th. And so if you go to felinegood.socialclub.com, and then they have a section that's like the different events, because they also have yoga with the cats. And so then there's a sound healing one and you can buy your ticket through them. We used to do it much more than we have been. This year's just, this will be the first one this year, and usually by now we'd have done maybe three. So it's been a little slower in us getting it going back over there this year, but just because dates didn't match up and things like that. But yeah, so May 19th. And we try to change it. Sometimes it's a Friday night, Saturday, Sunday. So like if your schedule is that you work on those days and you couldn't always come, that way we spread the love.
nice. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, and we will leave all this information in the description. And Lara, you will have this on your Instagram.
Yeah, we'll eventually put it on the Instagram, and it's on my website on the homepage at the bottom. And it also sends you to the link to buy the tickets as well. Yeah.
Perfect. So exciting. Yeah, I mean, animals are amazing. And I literally yesterday I was talking to someone who does horse yoga. No, I'm not horse yoga, horse meditation. And at first I was like, how do you even do that? And she's like, well, there's people, they're sitting in a circle and the horse in the horse space, and the horses just like walk around. So you have like enough space between people. So the horse, if the horse just wants to go through the circle and walk around, they do everything, like whatever, just like with cats. You're in their space, so you allow them to just move around freely. And horses are really sensitive, so they feel the emotions and they help you to work through the emotions. And I thought it was just like, oh my God, this is amazing. And the other thing, my partner recently went to this facility. It's like a deep personal psycho retreat. I really don't even know how to call it. It's called On Site, where he was there for 4 days, and one of the treatments, oh, here she is.
Oh, that just came after we talked about that, and she's sitting behind the computer. She was like, I'm just going to show you that I'm here. And then she's back.
Yes, I need to be on camera. I need to be present.
She's facing away from me in different directions. Go ahead.
Love it, love it, love it. So one of the therapists, for like a 2.5 hours, they were doing horse therapy that was like a family constellations, and I'll leave the description of what that is in our I've leave the explanation of what that is in our description. But basically it's like, you as a person, you go in and you give each horse a name, or like, this is me, this is me, younger me, this is older me, this is future me, this is past me, this is my father, this is my mother, this is, I don't know, my partner, my kids, everybody who come up in the therapy for you. So you allocate the energy to the horse, and then you watch how when you walk through the therapy with the therapist, when you walk through all the emotions and everything that's happening, and you do the healing verbally, how the horses connect to that energy and represent what happens. So I really want to see that in person. I was so excited to learn that this is the thing. So I'm doing my own research, trying to figure out how is this possible. I want to experience that too, because it seems
Yes.
so amazing.
Yeah, that sounds so incredible. Like for someone to even think of putting that together. I mean, you have to have the right horses, like
Yeah,
all horses are so incredible, but some are meant for that type of,
yeah.
supporting humans. And so you'd really have to like have the right group. Yeah, I'm so fascinated by that. I also want to really experience that or read more about that, because that just sounds so special. Any healing for animals, with animals, is just so incredible. It has such a different, it's a whole other thing.
It's a whole other level. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. And I literally just started tapping into it, because for some reason I never really like looked into that area, but it seems like such a whole new field for exploration.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, absolutely. I have I'm also doing, I'm not sure if there's tickets still available for it, but at the Gentle Barn in Santa Clarita on May 18th, I'm doing sound healing meditation for chakras, and they are an animal
oh,
sanctuary that has horses and cows and pigs and turkeys and all of that. And it was originally a different date, but it rained, and so we moved it to May 18th. So that's why I'm not sure if there's still tickets, or it was sold out before, if everyone can go to on that date. But yeah, it's also like really incredible because they love the sounds. They love it so much. So like if I go there and do energy healing for the animals, I'll bring like one or two of my instruments, because the horses love the bowls, the cows love the bowls. They also love the chimes. The horses love the chimes. Like they just like hone in on the sound so much. And it's really incredible. The last time I was there, I actually brought my gong, and there was they in this area where they have pigs and an emu and what was the other one? Oh, a llama. And the llama was walking up to the gong and like nudging it. So here's the gongs like moving, and
oh
and
my
we
God, I love
was
it.
across the way, and I was like pointing like, look, oh my gosh, because here's this llama like nudging this giant gong, and it was just so cute and adorable, because they love the sounds, and they totally just feel it, and they drop into it so easily. And then yeah, they want to like share that energy with you. So it's
I
incredible
know.
to do anything with animals like that.
I remember when I had my first ayahuasca experience. And for those who don't know what ayahuasca is, I'm also gonna leave a description, leave an explanation in the description. But the place where we did it, they had like this big dog, like huge dog, very kind, but like one of those big dogs. And
I know
when
that.
I was
I
deeply
know that.
deeply in my journey, and it was so intense and so uncomfortable, and I was laying down, I could not move. Like I couldn't even move my head, and I felt like such a discomfort, and I was going through the fears, because we were outside, it was COVID, so we were outside, and I could hear coyotes, and it's like dark, and I'm like, oh my god, coyotes gonna come and eat my face. And I could feel the dog comes to my feet. I was barefoot, and he started licking my feet and like kind of nudging me and kind of licking my face. And I'm like, I cannot move. This is probably a coyote. And then I can see, like, I could feel the energy of that dog, and it was so comforting. And I'm like, okay, I can relax. I have a protector now. There's like a moment where I'm like, okay, I don't have to worry about anything anymore. And he was sitting next to me for a while, I was told, because like obviously you cannot really have the sense of time, but the people who were observing us, they said that he was sitting next to you for a while. I'm like, yep, I really needed that.
It's so funny because I know where you were and I know that dog. And I also have an experience with that dog that was very different because when I went to that space, we were inside because it wasn't COVID times, and the
Yeah.
dog was outside, and then in the house that's on the property because they were asleep, you know. So,
Yeah.
but I have like I felt I like we would, you know, interact with the dog throughout the day and before and after the ceremony, but um I at one point had to go use the restroom in the house, and I like barely made it there because it's kind of a little bit of a ways to walk. And by the time I got there, I was so hot and I wanted to like take my sweater off because it was 30 degrees. So it was freezing outside. So I had a sweater on, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so hot. I need to take the sweater off. I need to, you know, sit down and go to the restroom and like get back to my space before like anything crazy happens. And I just threw my sweater onto the couch that was next to the wall where the door of the bathroom was, thinking like, there, it's right there. Let me go in there and then come out. I'll grab it and leave. And when I came back out, I was so tired. I laid down on this other couch on the other side, and it's a tiny room. And I'm laying on the couch like, oh my God, okay, I have to get the energy back up to like walk back over there and get, you know, back into the circle. And I open my eyes and I look, and that dog is on the couch, and my sweater is like draped over its head. I had thrown my sweater on it, and he didn't even react. He just was like, okay. Like he just knew I needed to like, and then I'm like, look, I open my eyes. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, can you imagine somebody just throws their sweater at you and you're totally fine with it?
Yeah, he kind of chilled. He's super chilled, that dog.
Very chill, yeah. And I
He's
just
seen
like,
a lot. I bet he's seen it all.
yeah. I feel like he just knew what was happening. Was like,
Yeah.
when you need this
Oh,
sweater, I'll hand it back to you.
yeah.
So, Lara, you're offering some healing retreats and plant medicine retreats right now, right?
Yeah, me and I have two other co-hosts that we offer psilocybin retreat with a cacao ceremony, a sound bath. My one of the other hostesses, she's an Ayurvedic practitioner, so she cooks all the meals and it's Ayurvedic, and they're amazing. And she also teaches like an Ayurvedic self care course. So the whole retreat, we all are offering different things, but there is also like a lot of downtime so you can integrate and enjoy the properties. So one year we did a few in Idlewild. Last year we did Joshua Tree, and then we have that one coming up in like April. It's middle of April, and then we're thinking to move it to another property. And we had somebody had an idea of where, and I already forgot what city it is because it was just like last week. She was like, "Look at this place, let's go here," and I was like, "Sounds great," and I already forgot where it was. But yeah, we kind of have this idea of like moving it around to different cities just to experience
Mhm.
the energy of those places. Idlewild and Joshua Tree are incredible for their own things that they offer.
Just to be there. Yeah, it's not like
Yeah,
you don't even have to do anything. You can just go and experience
exactly.
the energy.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and I always joke around that Idlewild, their mayor is a dog, so that was like my favorite thing. I was like, we're gonna meet the mayor, guys, on the retreat is done, I'm going to town to meet the mayor. Whoever wants to come with me. Yeah, and so those retreats have been so the three of us that host it, we have so much fun, but we also like really know how to like hold space and create a real safe container for everyone. So we absolutely love it because we have these moments of just like deep healing, reverence for the healing, gratitude for the group that we're with, and then also like laughing our heads off at silly things in proper moments and having a great time doing it. So yeah, it's really special. It's called Journey to Self, and it's also on my website if you or my Instagram if you go check those out. Yeah.
So you already did one, right? You did a couple.
Yeah, we're on our fourth one. Yeah.
Oh, fourth one. Wow. So how like tell us what's happening there. Like what are you guys like what are you experiencing? Like if I would go to that retreat, what would I could look forward to?
Yeah, so our one of our recent guests really summed this up, and it was like so moving for us because he wrote this little testimonial and we literally were like, "Did you read what he said?" That's exactly it. Because we call it Journey to Self because it holds so much expansiveness.
Mhm.
You are We're providing different modalities and different spaces for you to embody your highest self in that moment, to be able to carry that through your life. And if that is you embodying more strength, embodying more love, whatever it is, you are aligning with those things more and more. So you come in and we have an opening ceremony and we do a cacao ceremony. So it's heart opening. We have a sound bath that's really peaceful and it helps you integrate that. Then the foods are really nourishing. So your body can be less about digesting and more about processing what you are bringing up,
Mhm.
and they're really nourishing for that. And then we have the psilocybin ceremony, which in itself, here we have another plant doing its magic. um, Really us holding space for our guests while they're in that, however they need us. And then also utilizing the property, the place that we've been the last time and this next time, there's hammocks and you're outside under the stars and you can go be out there. Yeah, and it's beautiful. And so if you need help getting out there, or we just go out and check in on you, make sure you're okay. Just really using the moon and the stars and any of that to also support. And then the next day, have an integration, we'll have a closing ceremony, have a really big breakfast, and everyone is feeling very surrounded by like minded souls and connected with this soul family that they're coming together with. But ultimately, yeah, finding ways to embody their truest self and healing anything that's a barrier to that, to love all of that so that they can leave the retreat feeling so much more of their authentic selves so that they can move through their life however that looks, with all these new tools in their spiritual toolkit, as Brandy, one of our hostesses, says. And then we check in with them a couple weeks later, like, how is it going? How has it been to step
Mhm.
back into the world with all of this new knowledge? And a long time ago, a guardian that I have sat with in ayahuasca ceremonies, had sent this meme, and I use it now for the retreat. And so the Monday after the retreat, I send it to everyone, and it's an alien pumping gas, and it says, when you've had like an expansive weekend out in the stars, but now you have to go live your real life. And it's like just the perfect
It's
like
like,
way to be
yeah.
like, yes,
Yep,
that's how it
that's it.
feels
Mhm.
today. So yeah, so that's why we call it Journey to Self, because it just
It makes
represents
sense.
like
Yeah.
being able to embody that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
That sounds like
So
an
many
absolute dream.
things.
Yeah, it's really
So many.
lovely. And all the spaces that we've had have been so special in their own way. And it's like kind of like you're playing with your friends, but in this magic of like the star energy. And one of the ones in Idlewild, we always try to do it like full moon or some type of, you know, alignment with that. And in Idlewild, it was the full moon, and everyone had bought all these crystals in town, and then we lined them up because the retreat ends on Sunday, but then we stay another night if anybody wants to stay with us. So we're just kind of just hanging out and reading cards and things like that. And so everyone put like all their crystals and things in the window. We were cracking up because it was like just this like row of crystals and candles and gems for the full moon to like bless them. And then another time it was a full moon, and I was like, hey, who wants to do this like Wiccan ritual that I know in the full moon, and we could stand in the water and put our crystals in the water and it'll amplify it even more. And everyone was like, yeah. And it just was like you and your friends being like, guys, let's play this. And everybody just being so like, yeah, okay, let me get my stuff. And we were just like all squished into this jacuzzi doing this Wiccan ritual that I learned like 25 years ago for the full moon energy to like call it into our body. And I have this like video I took of it on like that the fast speed. I can't think of what it's called. And it is hilarious because we're all just like doing these like poses. Like, but yeah, it's so much. Everybody's just like loving every part of just being that version of themselves.
I love it. I love it.
It sounds like your inner child can come out.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like just be yourself. And I feel like sometimes people want to be really spiritual in those ways, but maybe don't have like the outlet or the community. And so we're just like all about it, and like whatever idea you have, like let's do it, and we're trying to incorporate even more of that. Even this time we're having like little stations of an area where you could read cards, and we're going to put out all different cards.
Oh, that's nice.
You could do some artwork and like just spend time like with yourself, like doing some more kind of artist creativity in that way, just to kind of call more of that in.
Oh my gosh, I love that though. It sounds like it's like when you're talking about it, I picture like summer camp but for adults.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Like that's why I say like we're really good at like having reverence for what we're doing, taking it extremely seriously in the way that we're honoring it and holding the space, but then also like having a really good time. And that's why I'm so blessed by these other two women, because we all have our part and we're all really good about doing our part and helping each other. And like, what do you need? Do you need help? Like, I'm not doing anything right now. You're cooking. Can I help you cook? Cut the food, set the place, whatever it is. But then on top of that, like just having like the silliest time, whatever joking ways we want.
And I think it's so important to bring fun to healing too. It doesn't have to be all serious. It doesn't have to just be like we're always going to the depths, which I mean, like we can do, but you can still have fun with it too and laugh about it and laugh at yourself.
Yeah, I think honestly, like that for me is such a important thing, and I think that's why the podcast that I have is like the high healing highs is the highs of your healing, because we do know how hard it is, and if I can like show you these more fun, wild, divine moments, it is encouraging, but also like entertaining. I like that. And for me in general, I feel like joy and laughter are so healing. So when I can bring that energy into any space, I love it so much. I had one time in an ayahuasca ceremony where I laughed for, it felt like an hour. I was laughing so hard that
that's a nice way to release, right?
Yes, it's the best way to release. Laughter.
It was. I was so disruptive. I like couldn't stop laughing. I had to like bury my head in my partner's like pillow. Like I was just trying anything to be like, I can't stop laughing, like loud. And yeah, it was hilarious. Just it was one of those things. Literally, it felt like I smoked 1,000 joints. Like, is the only way I can explain it, because everything was funny. Even the fact that like I couldn't feel my body, I couldn't move. I was almost a little bit like paralyzed. I couldn't move. I couldn't make my arm move. I couldn't make my tongue move, but I could laugh. And even that was funny to me, that I couldn't move, which you think it would be
Yeah.
scary. But yeah, it's such another form of like expelling energy, holding a high vibration. Like there's so
Yeah.
many components to it that it can be healing. And I absolutely think that that is so important, that we all find ways to heal in joy and heal in laughter. We don't always have to heal in suffering.
It's actually when I was taking my first classes on the energy and then healing, they taught us, they like, when, especially when you heal someone and shift the energy, if it's a little bit stagnant, use fake laugh. So you at
Yeah.
least fake laugh. Even fake laughing shifts the energy. And of course, if you have like an actual laugh, because if you start fake laughing, everybody kind of start laughing anyway.
Exactly.
So it shifts you into that immediately, and it lights up the mood and raises the frequency. So yeah, laughter is, it's a an amazing form of relief and
I
release.
have a chakra class that I'll teach a couple times a year. And when I do the throat one, I'll do that. It's like laughing. I think some people might call it like laughing yoga, but it is like this thing to like
Uh-huh.
release from that area. And then ultimately it ends in you laughing, like a fake laugh. But it always does make you laugh. Like you do just start laughing.
Yeah,
And it
I know.
always reminds me of when I was younger, my friend we would go eat somewhere, and then she would be like, we ate too much and now I need to like burn some calories. And then somehow we learned that when you laugh, you burn like 15
Yeah,
calories for so many minutes of laughing. And so we would do this thing where we would just fake laugh like the whole way home to like burn calories to help
I
hold
love
the
it.
weight. And that would
Yes.
just make us start laughing. And I remember one time we were with our boyfriends and they were like, what is going on right now? Because we were dying because we had fake laughed so hard that we were laughing for real, and they just didn't get it. It was like over
Yeah.
there.
No, so I'm telling you, this is the best medicine. It's like, I know it's a cliche, but laughter is the best medicine. So for those who are listening, if you really like in a deep place, just start fake laughing. I've seen this video on like one of the psychologists on Instagram, I believe. She does this. She's like, repeat after me, and she kind of counts her fingers. She's like, ha, 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 ha,
That's
ha,
what it
ha.
is.
And then the
Yeah.
person like, and then when you kind of, when you go in it, and you just start laughing from it because it's just so funny on its own, and then you raise your vibration.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's like getting used to it. So like that's kind of what I do in the class, is like I'll clap and be like, ha, ha,
So that's
ha,
like a
ha,
face,
ha. And
the laughter yoga.
it's there's people have different names for it, but yeah, and then you do like other sounds too, to just, because people get so stuck in their heads, like they can't just fake laugh sometimes. Like we could do it if we wanted to, but like for some people it's hard, and they need that kind of warm up into it to like just make sound, make weird sounds, make sounds in a rhythm, and then now fake laugh. So like one of the things is, once you warm up, is to tell a story but only with laughter.
Mhm.
And so you're like, intonation is like going up and down, but the whole time you're just laughing instead of saying words. And
That's
then
cool.
that's just like wild sounding when there's a group of people doing it, and it will just make you laugh, but you're also expressing something. But yeah, I that's to me so important. And kind of like the beginning of this, you asked like, how has my healing evolved? And I feel like that's one thing that I've really accepted and learned about me, and what I want to bring to people is, I will hold space for you in the hard moments, and I will help you love those things about you to help them change. But also, I want to inspire you to be laughing and use laughter, because we can heal in happy things too. And really remember that, so you can create more of that in your life, and use that as healing, because yeah, it feels so good and it's more fun.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. I think this on this beautiful note we can wrap up for today.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have one more question though. It's like, just wondering, what is lighting you up the most right now in your life? It can be work related or on not work related.
I feel I have two answers. One is work related. I'll start with that one. So I feel like lately there are so many things going on in my work life that light me up so much that when I'm thinking about them when they're done, or I'm coming home from them, or whatever it is, I feel like every time, like, oh my gosh, it feels like I won $1,000,000. Like I'm coming back from this event or the podcast or whatever it is. And I'm like walking into my house feeling so excited that that worked out and that was lovely. And we helped so many people, or it was so much fun, that I can tell every time I come into my house that I have this feeling as if I have just like won the lottery every time. And I've been thinking about this for the last couple of days, that it's so interesting that my brain relates it to money, that that is the feeling I have every time that there's, and I just last night was again thinking like, why does this always feel like, wow, I just like got all this money or won the lottery, like just because I had a fun day doing the podcast, or I went to do this event and it was so lovely. Why does it translate to that energy for me? And I last night was thinking about that. And I just think like for me in our society, but also my upbringing, money is a strong currency of communication. And I think my brain is equating it to that as a success. And my brain's trying to understand it like, we are so successful. This feels so good. We must have so much money. And so now I'm like, okay, let me look at that and let me heal that. But it is just lighting me up in general that I'm able to do these things. And it's so much fun and it's so enriching. And then personally, the thing that lights me up so much is my niece, because she's 2 and she's literally just laughing all the time every day. And she learned how to tell a fake joke because she's still learning how to talk. But my dad taught her how to tell a fake joke. So she gets it and she goes, ba, 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 ba. And it's just like, she's laughing all the time. She knows how to be funny. She gets when other people are funny. She wants you to laugh. She even says, laughing? Like, ready? Let's laugh. Personal,
Nice.
just the best because she's
Here's
2.
the healer in the making.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. And she also, I have a picture of her on my phone that happened at Christmas where she, I don't know if you can see it, but she's got her hands over my third eye
Oh, wow.
because I got a third eye bell and she was ringing it, and she doesn't know, no one's ever done this to her, she's never seen that. And after we were ringing the bell, she felt it activating in me on my third eye, and she walked over and was doing that in my third eye.
Wow.
Oh my
it
gosh.
was I didn't know that someone took a picture, but I was freaking out, like, how does she, she's never seen that. And she just turned 2 the week before, and then the next day my sister-in-law was like, hey, I got a picture of her doing that, and I was like,
Wow. That's
That's
amazing.
so cool.
yeah. So
Wow.
those are my things right now that are just making me so happy. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Oh, all right. This is I'm like out, out of words. Okay, so if you can just tell us where people can find you and the services that you're offering.
Yeah. So I offer remote or in person healing sessions where we can do theta healing, energy healing, sound healing. And I always say I offer it to humans and animals. So I can be specific that sometimes people say, like, oh, but do you work on humans too? So humans and animals all over the world. And so my website, you can go to that, is illuminatelife.co, and has all of that there. I'm also have the podcast Healing Highs with Lara on right now. It's on Spotify, Amazon, and iHeart. And then I also have the retreat that I'm co-hosting, which is called Journey to Self Retreat. And so you can find that on Instagram, and there's a website there to check out all the offerings of that. And I am starting now in 2 weeks to host very small groups of um, doing psilocybin ceremonies in Long Beach with Brandy, who I co-host the retreat with. So we are doing that, like going to start doing that in 2 weeks. So if people want to come to this more intimate and if you can't do the whole retreat, you can just do this one evening. We're doing that. If you're interested, you can email me and I can give you the details for that.
Oh, it's always such a pleasure to have you and talk to you. Like, you have such a good energy. And I must say, like, Lara is the best teacher that I've had for all of those modalities. So that's why I love sending people to you, because I know, especially for those who just starting their journey, you're excellent to guide them through. You definitely have a gift there.
Thanks.
And thank you so much for coming and doing this with us again. And I'm sure we're going to do it a few more times, at least in the near
Fun.
future, because it's always a pleasure to have you here with us.
You are really wonderful hosts, both of you. So I appreciate it. It's so much fun to do your podcast because both of you have such a bright light and then you work so well together. But then it's just so much fun to sit here and do this with you and chat about all our favorite things. So
Yes.
I appreciate you having this space. I love listening to the podcast and thank you for having me on.
Thank you, Lara. And thank you for joining us. You're a bright light too. And you're so inspirational. And I love listening to your podcast and the inspirational stories that you shared and about like how you're raising your vibration and all your healing journeys.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today for another episode with Lara. We got to learn about animal healing and the retreat she's offering and all the different services she's offering at the moment. We got to deep dive into this healing as well as the ceremonies that she is offering. And if you haven't listened to our previous episode with Lara, go ahead and listen to that, and we'll link it below. We took a deep dive into what Theta Healing was in that episode. So if you'd like to learn more about that, make sure you go listen. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and we'll connect next time.